Hey, you're here with Dr. Jodi, and this is season 3 of Anxiety, I'm So Done With You. This podcast is a teen and a young adult guide to ditching toxic stress and hardwiring your brain for happiness. If you're new here, grab a copy of my book, Anxiety, I'm So Done With You, because this series goes section by section through the book, going a little bit deeper, giving more examples, and telling more stories. Season 3, which goes along with Chapter 3, is expanding hope by looking at your skills and abilities. You are amazing. You have many skills and abilities. However, anxiety does not want you to know that, and it tries to block your view of them. But not anymore. In this season, we're going to bring them out into the open, giving you more access to them when you need them the most. And as this season progresses, you're going to envision yourself in a new way. As a person who is able, caring, confident, and determined. Thank you so much for listening, subscribing, and leaving me 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. Mental health problems are skyrocketing, especially among young people, and this series will help them cease judging, stop questioning, and start healing. Welcome to Chapter 3, Section 7, Activate Your Unique Skills. In this episode, we're going to discuss what disconnects people from their personal agency, and then I'll tell you how to reconnect to it. I'll also give you a glimpse behind the curtain of what happens in therapy and remind you of an empowering daily practice. Lastly, I'm going to show you how to open up space in your life for more joy, opportunities, and love. So this chapter has been pretty full. We activated power, trust, motivation, responsibility, confidence, courage, and then now your unique skills. But I kind of feel like that sentence is that game, which one of these things is not like the other? Because you might be wondering, why are unique skills on this list? Well, really all of them, power, trust, responsibility, confidence, courage, are also skills that can be practiced and honed. This book section, Chapter 3, Section 7, covers the ones that are unique to you. Let me give you some background on my thought process when writing this whole chapter. During therapy sessions, a person comes to therapy with a problem that needs to be unpacked. Unpack means take it apart, to understand it and how it works. When we experience problems, they affect our beliefs and how we see ourselves. You could think about it as constructed and built up tighter and more powerful with all the beliefs and all the memories and all the evidences, all the trauma reactions and identities that problem or experience creates. I think about it like problems are built up like a fortress. They are well guarded by all of this structure and hard to penetrate, so they stay and they keep control in your life. As a therapist, it's my job to deconstruct the problem or problems by asking you about them, by demystifying them, learning their effects on your life, and exposing the particular tactics that they use to ensnare you. Those are those lies that it tells you to get you to believe it. You know what I mean. When you're experiencing a problem, it affects many areas of your life, and so it infiltrates into your very identity. I'm a loser. I'm a mess. I can't go out. It easily does this, by the way. It's not like you have a problem for years and then you start saying that you're an anxious person. You make meaning almost immediately when you start feeling bad, because those feelings feel out of control. And making some conclusions about what they mean gives us a sense that we have some control. But it's not real. We're not in control. In fact, thinking that we're a problem instead of having a regular human experience in response to the situation makes us feel more out of control. Then we have to double down, trying to grab control over something, increasing our chaos and making it so much worse. Pretty soon we feel more and more out of control and our anxiety skyrockets. What's happening here is that anxiety is disconnecting you from your personal agency. all of your attention, and desperation is about doing what the anxiety wants. Staying isolated, staying home, self-medicating, not doing things that you used to enjoy, pulling away from people who care about you. When you do these things, what is in control is the anxiety and the negative thoughts and the depression, not you. After a while, you're convinced that you don't have personal agency at all, that you can't do anything. And then you look at your life and you think, it's true, I can't, because the anxiety is showing you the things it has stopped you doing, and you take that as testimony that you are that loser that you thought you were. No, you are not a loser. Anxiety is tricking you. That's why it's so easy to believe the anxiety when it tells you that you can't, because feeling powerless, worthless, and out of control feels like evidence that you, in fact, can. But the moments that you're reconnected with your personal agency, the anxiety goes down. Anyway, anxiety doesn't ever stay the same. It changes, goes up and down through the day or through the hours, getting worse sometimes and better other times. When I was young, I didn't know that I had any part of it going up and down. I thought I was just lucky when it went away, but that is not true. The times that it went down are times when my mind was engaged in doing something and my brain read this as I was in control and decreased my adrenaline. One day I was discussing what's going on with young people with the chief of psychiatry at my local hospital. We were talking about how we notice that young people have personal agency. They have skills, but they just don't know they do. You have skills, you just don't know that you do. And that's why I wrote this chapter, to reconnect you to them. I wanted you to notice the skills that you already have and are using, rather than unconsciously taking those for granted anymore. That way you could recognize them when you use them and track them through your days, and that'll help you feel more confident and in control of what you're doing. Parents often bring their kids to me in therapy and say that their kid needs some coping skills. And yes, okay, they're here because they're not coping with whatever they're going through. And that might be what happens in some therapy sessions with some therapists. They teach skills. But I don't think that people don't have skills. I don't think that teenagers are skillless. They have tons of skills, amazing, inspiring skills that lift me up every day that I meet people. The problem is that they're not consciously connected to those skills, so they don't see them and they don't think of themselves as skilled. That's what I see as my job as a therapist, to notice people's skills and abilities, model drawing these out with rich meaning making and robust storytelling around what you did and who you are, and then reflect all that back to you so you start to see it too and can weave a new story about yourself outside the problem story. For example, if you told me a story about you sharing your lunch with someone who doesn't have a lunch, I'd probably be curious about what you think that says about you, that you noticed that they didn't have a lunch and then you thought of giving them some of yours. You might say, I don't know, everyone should do that. But I'd challenge you, because while it'd be a great world if everyone did that, they don't. You might have been the only one at the table doing it, or you initiated it if other people joined in. That is unique. It is something that you specifically did, and you could track it as a skill or initiative. That act is your personal agency. It tells me something about the kind of person you are, but I want you to see that. So I'll ask you, what does sharing your lunch say about the kind of person that you are? Sometimes, though, when you're feeling so negative for a very long time, it's hard to acknowledge something nice about yourself. To circumnavigate that, I'd invite you to name the quality from a distance by imagining that it is someone else. I'd ask, if someone notices that a classmate does not have lunch and they offer some food, would you say that was generous? Or could you say that it's thoughtful? If you agreed, I'd ask, what kind of a person does that? A generous person or a thoughtful person? What I am doing in those sessions is I'm taking those skills and projecting them onto the person's identity. As part of their identity, they can embrace them more. You know how I said when anxiety is bad, it superimposes on your very identity. I am anxious. I am a loser. I am a mess. And in doing that, it dominates so many areas of your life. If it does that when it's negative, think about what it does when it's positive. When good attributes are your identity, they will have the same effect. You will see yourself as skilled. You'll have more confidence in situations. You won't be scared of doing everything. And anxiety can't trick you into thinking that you can't handle life. In having these conversations over years and years and years, what I started to notice is that people have very unique skills, beautiful, amazing, kind skills. They notice when someone's sad and they do something thoughtful. They find a loophole in something. They figure out how to climb up and grab something that's too high. They research how to do something. They memorize their lines. They make gifts for their friends. They break their own personal records. And they do the nicest thing that makes another person feel loved and cared about. And on and on and on. People take those skills for granted that everyone should be doing them. But this is it. Not everyone is doing them. Maybe some people do them some of the time, but they're not done often because the world would be so much of a better place if they were. However, once you start to notice yourself as a skilled person, you will have more access to these skills when you need them. You'll do them more than you're doing them now, and you'll feel empowered in the process. The best way to start noticing yourself as having skills is to do that practice that I told you about in a different episode. And if you haven't started it, I want to prompt you again because this is going to change your life. And it's so easy. This is what you do. Every night before you go to bed, write down 3 things that you did that day. They could be 3 initiatives that you took, 3 accomplishments that you had, or 3 tasks that you did. They could be small or substantial. It doesn't matter. You could write anything down that you did. Do this for at least a month. Keep a record of 3 things that you did every single day. Do it for even longer if you're depressed or angry or irritable or anxious. Remember, negative thoughts repeat themselves a lot. So the more negative you feel, the more you need to repeat any positive practice. After days or weeks of this practice, you'll feel empowered to start noticing what you're doing during the day. You'll be assessing to see if this is something that you could write down later or not. That means you'll be noticing your skills and initiatives all day long. Again, here is the simple practice. Before going to bed every single night, write down 3 things that you did that day or put them in your notes app. 3 things that you took initiative on or that you accomplished or you got done. 3 things every single day. You know how you notice your deficits and inadequacies all day long? This practice is going to switch that habit to you noticing your skills and abilities. Those skills and abilities are already there. You would not have gotten to the age that you are without having skills. This new habit will help you decrease your anxiety and depression because you'll have more access to the skills when you're feeling bad. And when anxiety and depression are trying to tell you that you can't do anything and that you mess up everything, you won't believe it any longer. And when you have more access to those skills, you're not going to only just use them for empowering self-talk. You'll use them to start doing something to make your day better. Then your brain will get the message that you're okay and decrease the adrenaline. Or you'll kick off your dopamine and feel better. Plus, you'll be distracted by the activities and not tumble into the negativity in your head. Once a client asked me why when she's sad, she knows it and she thinks about it so much, but when she's happy, she doesn't even notice it. And I said, when you're happy, you're out of your head and you're out there living. This is what I notice. Sometimes people are genuinely happy and they're happy for a while, and then they get sad again and they think, I guess I wasn't really happy, because they can't remember it tangibly. They think the happiness was fake. This is very, very common. If it's happened to you, you might think you're the only one who has ever felt like the happiness that they felt was fake. Because hardly anyone ever talks about this, but it's very, very common. And this is the reason. When you're happy, you're busy living and you're not analyzing it all day. Then when you're sad again, which is human to be sad some days, it's really hard to conjure up what it felt like to be happy. The sad feeling that returned feels so familiar, so we put meaning around it that it's more real. That's why it feels like happiness was fake. People's mood changes depending on so many variables that happen during the day. But then when the sad comes, it feels like it comes back. People feel devastated because they know how painful it was before. The original units of feeling of sad might not even be that bad. It might be pretty small. But instead of saying, I feel sad today. Okay, I'll just give myself some TLC and I'm going to keep going. Instead of doing that, we attach to the sad. We give it all sorts of meaning via globs of negative self-judgment and worry. Oh no, I didn't get better. I'm too stupid to know that that wasn't better. I'm definitely a problem. Why do I always overreact? There's some darkness inside of me because it always keeps coming back and I don't know how to get rid of it. What if someone sees it? Is this my destiny to be sad forever? Some of these I know are ridiculous when I say them out loud, and it might sound a little bit like I'm making fun of you. And I almost edited them out because I was like, oh, I don't want people to feel bad about that. But really, we do say those kind of things to ourselves, and they're awful and they're mean for us to say to ourselves. Aloud, they might sound extreme, but in our heads, they sound menacing and true. I'm actually saying them out loud because I want you to think they're ridiculous, not to judge them, but to remove the negative meaning that they hold. Does that make sense? Everything is about the meaning that we make out of it, and I want to teach you how to make meaning that's going to help you feel better and not worse. Let's end this episode on a good note and talk about how to open space in your life for more joy, opportunities, and love. This is what you're going to do. You're going to embrace your unique skills. Notice them, step into them, perform them, and identify yourself with them. You have amazing qualities. You wouldn't have grown to the age that you are without them. It's time that you start to see them so that you have more and more access to them, and then anxiety can't control you anymore. The quickest way for you to have joy, opportunities, and love is to take over the reins of your life. You want to be in control instead of your negative emotions controlling you. This is also the way to recover your energetic bandwidth. You have a huge capacity to do a lot of things, be a lot of things, have energy for a lot of things. And the negativity will happily take as much space as you let it have. But you don't want it there because it is stealing your joy and your connection. So it is beyond time to take back your energetic bandwidth little by little by starting to notice what you do. You don't even have to change what you do. You just have to notice it, and it'll change on its own to being more and more what you want it to be. You'll grow more skills, and you'll step into ones that you love the most about yourself. They'll help you get close to people, and because you're happier, you're going to attract people who are more positive and uplifting. You'll enjoy things again and feel an affinity for things, and this will open a direction that you want to head in your life. You'll gain purpose, and with that, worthiness. You'll keep growing and learning and enjoying yourself. You'll be good to the people around you, and they will be good to you. Does that sound good? That is full embodied happiness, and you can have it. All right, don't forget, there is a blog post that goes along with this and every single episode. In this blog post, I put extra resources for you to help you connect with your agency. The link to the blog post, as always, is in the show notes. Thank you so much for listening to this episode where we discussed what disconnects people from their personal agency and how to reconnect to it. I shared what happens in therapy, and I reminded you of an empowering nightly practice that I really hope you try because it can change your life. Overall, this third season, which goes along with Chapter 3, we prepared you to open space in your life for more joy, opportunities, and love by getting you in touch with your personal agency. That is a perfect segue to Chapter 4 and Season 4 because it is really your time to shine. In Chapter 4, you're going to get rid of all those things that hold you back from the self-love that you absolutely deserve. Read that, and I'll see you in the next season of Anxiety, I'm So Done With You, with me, Dr. Jodi.